week in ordinary time. Ordinary time is green because we are growing in our understanding of Jesus and his teachings. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. As Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem, he taught the people in the towns and villages. Someone asked him, "Lord, are only a few people going to be saved?" Jesus answered, "Do all that you can to go in through the narrow door. A lot of people will try to get in, but will not be able to. Once the owner gets up and locks the door, you'll be left standing outside. You will knock on the door and say, 'Sir, open the door for us.' But the owner will answer, 'I don't know a thing about you.' Then you will start saying, 'We dined with you, and you taught in our streets.' But he will say, 'Get away from me, all of you evil people.' Then you will be thrown outside, and you will weep and grit your teeth, because you will see Abraham and Isaac and all the prophets in God's kingdom. People will come from all directions and sit down for a feast in God's kingdom. The ones who are now least important will be the most important, and those who are most important will be the least important." The Gospel of the Lord. Like last week, this week, Jesus is still on his way to Jerusalem where he knows he will die. Last week, Jesus told us that his death on the cross would divide people into those who followed him and those who didn't. This week, Jesus talks about what it is like to be in God's kingdom. It is like a narrow door that many people want to get in. Those who get there before the owner locks the door can come in. But once the owner locks the door, everyone left outside cannot come in. If we try to reach God's kingdom right away, we can get there. That is because we're focused on God's kingdom, and if we try every day to learn from Jesus and follow God, we can get there. But if we wait and try to rush in, like the people trying to get in just before the owner closed the door, we'll miss it. It cannot be rushed. And we cannot suddenly expect to get to God's kingdom without following God every day. Why is that? It reminds me of how in Mass we ask God to send down his Spirit like dewfall. Dew is the wetness on the grass every morning. It is not a lot of water at once, just a tiny amount every day. Maybe we wish God would send down his Spirit like a heavy rainfall, lots at once. But God sends it like dewfall. We need to look for it every day. Once the door is closed, the owner will say he does not know the people who are locked outside. They don't agree. They say the owner ate with them and taught in the streets. It's like Jesus, who had a lot of people follow him around, but once he got to the cross, many left. The people who ate with him and saw him in the streets, but did not stick with him, are like trying to follow God just one time, or just when things are good. Those left out from God's kingdom will be very sad, because it's not just God they're missing out, but all of the past heroes. God's friends and prophets like Abraham and Moses, John the Baptist, Jeremiah the prophet, Elijah the prophet. So those left out are missing being with some of the most amazing people who ever lived. That is like God's kingdom. The most amazing people are amazing because they followed God. And if we aren't part of it, we may not see what was so amazing about them. Finally, Jesus reminded us that in God's kingdom, the least important are the most important. And the most important now will be the least important in God's kingdom. To be part of God's kingdom is to be part of the group of people the world would say is unimportant, because they don't do anything to take their attention away from God. On the other hand, those who are important pay too much attention to their importance and forget God. It comes back to asking, who are we? Do we get in the door because we're focused on God all along and haven't focused on being important, which would take us away from God's kingdom? Or do we want to come to God at the last minute and miss out on his kingdom and spend our time being important in this world, which makes us unimportant in God's kingdom?